Hello to the world and anyone out there who's watching. I'm the amazing Tomahawk, also known as T-Hawk, but you can call me Tom. And that's about we do this for real this time. For those of you who don't know, every year $80 falls out of my bank account and about 10 games appear in my Steam library when the Steam summer sale happens. To this day, I have no idea how this happens, but I've been making videos giving my first impressions on each game all in one video. And even though last year's video wasn't exactly ideal, this one's special. I'll explain why at the end of the video, so think before you close. With that out of the way, we're back down to 10 games this year, but considering all 4 trying games basically took up one of the 14 slots last year, we may as well be talking about the same amount of games. I've talked enough. Now, you ready for the show to begin? You better be, because this will be a ride! Alright, the show's on the road, let's do this! Get ready! It's Lethal League Blaze time! Not sure what I was expecting with this game, but it wasn't this. Lethal League Blaze is essentially a fighting game, but one designed to be very different than a traditional one. The idea is that you hit a ball at high speed, with the goal being to try and hit your opponent with said ball while not letting them hit you with the ball. That's about what I had known about the game, but it's the intricacies of the game that put this in the just for fun category for me. See, being a fighting game where your main goal is to smack around a ball in different ways, that leads each character's moveset to feel far more samey than even the most accessible fighting game. I mean, yeah, each character has their own ult, and from what I understand, the angles at which they hit the ball is different character to character, but this doesn't exactly feel like the kind of game where you have to study matchups or anything character specific. That being said, sometimes you just need a game to pass the time, which is why I'm glad this game works great on Steam Deck. Oh yeah, the theme for this year's Steam Summer Sale video is games that work good on Steam Deck, by the way. Anyways, this game feels tailor-made for something like the Steam Deck. A lot of fighting games do, but it's nice to be able to hit up arcade mode when I have my Steam Deck on me and like 15 minutes to spare. Just not a game I want to sit down and learn. Still fun though. And now, it's Spelunky II time! Not gonna lie, I'm not much of a Spelunky guy. Not even that much of a roguelike guy. I just knew having the option to play a game like Spelunky on the go would be a good idea on my new Steam Deck. But in the words of the all-time best cinematic Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire, I got what I wanted. Didn't make it better. Okay, maybe that's a bit strong, but let me explain. The real problem that I have with Spelunky 2 is that it doesn't do much to justify its existence as a sequel. The visuals may as well be Spelunky 1. The gameplay may as well be Spelunky 1. The new items and events may as well be DLC for Spelunky 1. Do you see where I'm going with this? At the very least, the game does make some improvements to its predecessor. One of my favorites is the ability to go into different layers of each layer through caves. It's basically just used to have you go through walls to new areas, but it's still a lot of fun. To the game's credit, Spelunky 2 is full of ideas like this. And yes, it is a better game than its predecessor, but at the end of the day, it just feels like one of those huge overhaul updates an old game would get to keep it up to today's standards. I'm not huge on either game, but Spelunky 2 is a lot of fun on Steam Deck on the right day. It's very pick up and play, and the beauty of the game is the stories that come from each run, so having that anywhere is definitely worth it. I mean, I'll probably go back to it here and there, so I'll admit it's kind of fun. And now, it's Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom time. How to sell me on a game. 1. Have really cool animation in your game. 2. Have you play as a character that can transform into animals to get past obstacles. 3. Have one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard in a platformer. 4. Make your game a puzzle-focused Metroidvania. 5. Have genuinely funny writing with engaging characters that help progress the story. 6. Have this as your theme song.
Monster boy, fighting for a future made of love and joy. All the good and evil trying to destroy, only you can save if you have faith in your brain.
So naturally, this game was made for me. This one I've been playing a lot of lately, and it's because it does a lot of what I love about these types of games so damn right that on most days it's hard to put down. Interestingly, much of its systems are based in RPG culture, but it's not an RPG. While this isn't the first game to do this, far from it in fact, what's interesting about Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom is how well these ideas are integrated. Magic is your projectiles, that's a given, but to provide a better example, armor helps not just with combat, but with exploration as well. The only thing I'd really change about the game is that it's pretty linear, with each area basically being its own level. Personally, I prefer when a Metroidvania gives you a more open world to explore, weaving the player through each world naturally more than once to check up on old areas. But needless to say, I've been playing this game a lot on my Steam Deck. The game runs on there perfectly with no issues, and each checkpoint is a save point, so playing this game on the go is no problem at all. If you think all that sounds cool, give this game a shot. That's what I did. And now, it's Metal Gear Rising Revengeance time. Metal Gear Rising Revengeance is a game I remember being one of the funniest games I've ever played when I played it on PS3 back in the day. I never beat it, but I remember it being the funniest shit ever when you get thrown at a building via Metal Gear only to start running down a building and eventually slicing the damn thing in half. It was supposed to be cool, and it was, but it was so extra that I couldn't stop laughing every time I thought about it. As I've grown older and gained an appreciation for the work of Platinum Games, however, I've gained a new perspective. And, in fact, a better one. I'm not really much of a Metal Gear Solid fan, let's get that out of the way now, but you don't really need to be to play this game. You just have to understand the kind of game this is, an action game and not an easy one. And you down with that? You'll love this game. You can't talk about how great this game feels to play without talking about the soundtrack. While I won't play it here due to fear of copyright claim, I'm gonna make a bold statement. One that, if you know anything about me, you know means a lot coming from me. Devil May Cry 5 Devil Trigger? Nothing on some of the songs in this game. Yes, you heard me right. You've probably heard some of these songs in memes or something, but in context, they make you feel like you could kill a god. That and the fluid combat, which can admittedly feel a bit loose, combined to make a game I really want to play more of. Thing is, cloud saves aren't transferring for me on Steam Deck. It's a lot of fun on there and works perfectly, but obviously it means I gotta pick one or the other. And that's not why I use my Steam Deck. Still, now that I have this game on Steam, it's 100% a one-day thing for me. One day. And now, it's Bastion time!
rolls to his death. I'm just fooling.
You forgot about this game, didn't you? Bastion, for me, was one of those games that was so well received and that looked just fun enough that I kept my eye on it for the longest time. But only really played the demo on Xbox Live Arcade. Another thing, let's be real, you probably forgot about. While Bastion may look like your average ARPG dungeon crawler, and honestly it very much is in a lot of ways, this is another great example of the little details shining through to make a game feel much more than the sum of its parts. And I mean that in the best way possible. In Bastion, you play as the kid who wakes up to find his world is destroyed and sets out to save what's left of it. From there, you reach the titular Bastion and go from level to level trying to collect cores to rebuild it. Trust me, that was actually kind of a novel concept when this game came out. Like I said, this is a game that has a solid foundation that lets the flourishes do the work. The most well-known example is probably its use of a narrator.
He sees what's left of the rippling walls. Years of work undone in an instant. In the calamity.
I'm told people find his voice sexy, and the studio who made this game used his voice actor in a similar way for their next game, which you 100% completely forgot about. But you should know that by now, if you have any knowledge of this game whatsoever. So let's talk about lesser known stuff. I guess if I had to point out one cool detail you might not have realized about this game is the way each level tells a story. While a lot of games nowadays supposedly do just that, none of them do it quite like Bastion. Whenever you go somewhere, find some item, or really do anything, the narrator will give you the backstory of whatever it is in a way that actually is kind of deep. I only put about 45 minutes into the game on Steam so far, and already I can tell just how realized this world is. It's even great on Steam Deck, considering levels rarely pass 10 minutes and even more rarely get close. So this is a great game to play if you have your Steam Deck and happen to be pressed for time. And yes, it runs great on there too. But you're probably more familiar with Supergiant's work nowadays, aren't you? And yes, I finally bought it, so let's talk about it. That's right, it's Hades time. Let's get this right out of the gate right now. This game is everything everyone said it was, and is deserving of all the praise it gets. Yes, even with a 93 on Metacritic. But let's rewind a bit to explain why I probably won't put time into this game anytime soon. Not even that much of a roguelike guy. But I'm still glad I played this game. In this game, you play as the son of Hades trying to escape from the underworld. Kinda the perfect idea for a roguelike or roguelite, but it still kind of feels like an easy pick in terms of story setup. Of course, it's not to its detriment. Roguelikes typically aren't about story, and the game doesn't necessarily need it. But premise-wise, pretty simple. Gameplay-wise, however, I mean, it's definitely a roguelite, but still a pretty fun one. What I like about Hades in particular is how powerful it makes you feel. Y'all know I love a good power fantasy in my video games, and honestly, I feel like that's something most roguelikes shy away from. And I know what you're thinking. Tom, most roguelikes have to make you feel weak so that when you finally beat the game, you feel like you beat it with your own skill. See, that's just not true. Case in point, Hades. In this game, you play as the son of a god, and the gods on Olympus are in support of you leaving the underworld, so they lend you their powers as buffs. So obviously, it would make no sense to make you feel weak. but it's the fact that you have those powers that makes you feel so great. And you don't even have to wait that long into your run to feel powerful. And it means you don't feel like you could die any second of your run. And it means in most cases you feel stronger than your enemies rather than weaker. And more roguelikes need to start doing this if they want me to play them. And as you'd expect with most roguelikes and roguelites, the game works great on Steam Deck. The game's deck verified for a reason and runs like it was made for the thing. So honestly, if you have a Steam Deck, I'd say this should be the first thing you should buy. Or play if you have it, which, let's face it, you probably do. And now, it's Okami HD time. Okami is a good game. Not a really good game, but a good game. The real issue I have with Okami on first impression is that, well, I can barely play it. I don't mean like the game won't start or anything. I mean that, well, I put about 2 hours into this game so far, but I don't think I'm exaggerating much when I say about 3/4 of that time was spent reading text containing little more than exposition, some tutorials along the way, and often an overly long combination of the two. I get this game's supposed to be story-driven, but when your story is as simple as evil demon brings world to ruin and resurrected god needs to restore it, you don't need an hour and a half of text to tell you that while feeding you tutorials in a way that kind of feels shoehorned in to pad the runtime. That being said, if this game lightens up on text and maybe throws in some interesting puzzles and combat, which I'm sure it will, it's still a pretty good game. I feel like it's easy to say this is kinda Capcom Zelda, so let's use that as the base. From there, the focus seems to be fighting demons and solving puzzles with your brush, which can do way more than I can explain here, but seems to be used in a lot of puzzles in the game. As for fighting the demons, it's arena-based and pretty basic at first, but my knowledge of these kinds of games tells me the combat gets harder once you gain new skills and weapons, so don't take my word for it. In fact, maybe don't take my word for this game at all. It doesn't feel like a game that can be explained through first impressions. And as a big Capcom fan, I'll probably play this on my Steam Deck and completely change my mind. It does feel a little weird playing a game like this on Steam Deck, and it's not exactly a game you can turn on if you only have 30 minutes of free time, but it works on there. Watch me go back and totally regret this section a year from now. Just watch. And now, it's Overgrowth time. Out of all these games, Overgrowth might have one of the better foundations for a game I'd really enjoy. Maybe not quite top 1, but at least top 3 out of all the games I will and have covered in this video. First and foremost, I love the idea. Basically, you play as a sexy rabbit man named Turner who goes around kung fu fighting bad guys. The idea is that they want you to feel like you're in a martial arts movie, taking down hordes of bad guys with punches and kicks in the most intuitive way possible. Which might be why the combat doesn't feel quite right. See, to attack in most games, you press a button and the move comes out. Everyone knows that. But in this game, you hold right trigger and that basically sets your character to attack when your opponent is open, which feels unimpactful. It's the same idea with the parkour, but at least that's more fun. When you can get it to work, that is. Again, most actions here are automatic, so it just doesn't feel like you're the one doing anything. Plus, it can be hard to get stuff like wall runs to register, which is frustrating. Most disappointing of all is the story, but not the story itself. The writing is actually pretty good. It sets up the world nicely and makes characters like
Mr. Sexy Bun Bun
here actually seem really fleshed out and in some cases even kind of funny. But you can probably see what's wrong here. I mean, look at these cutscenes. There's not even any voice acting and the characters are keyframed like they're in dreams. This game really needed a bigger budget. If some of these things were worked out, this game would be great. But only in the right moment does this game truly shine. Thing is, when it shines, it is a lot of fun. And that's why I'm glad I can play it on Steam Deck. Cloud saves don't seem to work for this one either, unfortunately, so I wasn't able to pick up where I left off on Steam Deck, but this game doesn't seem long, so this is actually one I could see myself revisiting. Also, you get a free game for buying this, so let's talk about that. That's right, it's receiver time. Normally, I'm not into these kind of games. This game is 1, a first-person shooter, where 2, you have to start over when you die, and 3, has an overly complicated button scheme where you have to press a button to do simple things that most games do just fine with 1 button. That's 3 things I'd consider turn-offs for me in most cases. But something about Receiver, I guess, just works? To explain the type of game this is, let me tell you how to reload your normal, yes, normal gun. First, you have to press a button to release your clip. Then you have to press a button to take out a magazine. Then you have to press a button to insert the magazine. Then you have to press a button to cock your gun. Each one being a different button. Yeah, it's one of those games. Thing is, the game gives you plenty of time and space to get used to these controls, and there's actually not a lot of enemies, so it kinda works. Honestly, if I had to compare this game to something, it'd probably be Slender of all things. See, the objective of the game is to collect a series of tapes featuring some of the most boring voice acting you will ever hear while trying not to get killed by turrets and drones. There's actually a lot of strategy that goes into each run, and furthermore, you get a different gun each time you die, meaning adjusting to a new control layout each time you die. The biggest downside is that this game screams tech demo. Once you notice the polygonal design of everything, the lack of textures on anything but your gun, the still image background, you can't unnotice it. Even the concept of step-by-step realistic gun handling feels like something done as an experiment. But speaking of step-by-step realistic gun handling, would you believe that this game actually runs and even plays amazingly on Steam Deck? I'm serious. It takes some playing around with the control layout, but honestly, if you can find something comfortable, it's actually a great game to play on Steam Deck if you have a few minutes. Like, for real, I might go back to this on Steam Deck later. Okay, one more game. What do we got? Oh. Okay. And finally, I guess it's Streets of Fury X time. Do I even need to explain this? Like, what even is this game? This game, in appearance and in practice, screams college dorm room project. Like some fighting game weirdos decided, what if we put real people in a beat 'em up like it was Mortal Kombat or some shit? And yes, this is exactly that. I mean, are you seeing this? This is how they run in this game. They worked with what they had and made exactly what they wanted. But what if I told you that of all of the games out there like this, that this is actually one of the better ones? I mean, it's not perfect. Again, this is how they run. But in terms of what it set out to do, it could do a whole lot worse. So what you may not have figured out yet is that unlike a traditional beat 'em up where you can freely move up and down, you move in 3 different layers, much like, I can't believe I'm saying this, Little Big Planet. It's clearly done to save on having to film so many different animations, but it's one of those things that actually adds to the gameplay since the game is built around it. See, the game is actually a lot more combo focused than a lot of games like it, with a lot of moves allowing you to juggle your opponents, which is where the 3 layers comes in handy. But as for your objective, you're trying to defeat all the gang leaders at the end of each stage. You do this like any other beat 'em up, which is beat up all the bad guys, go right, then fight the boss. It's pretty simple stuff, but that's really because there isn't much to talk about with this game. It's just a game you turn on when you're with the boys and too drunk to play fighting games. If the goal was to make that kind of game, which I'm sure it was, mission fucking accomplished. As for the Steam Deck aspect of this game, take a wild guess how it plays on there. I'll give you a hint, it's verified. Yup, a great game to play when there's nothing to do. Perfect for Steam Deck if you're that guy. And that's all the games I got from the Steam Summer Sale 2022. Honestly, I'm pretty glad I got to try out all of these games. A lot of them I've had my eye on for a while and always wanted to give a shot. But we're not done yet. Good news and bad news, but I gotta start with the bad news. This is the last Steam Summer Sale video I plan to make for the foreseeable future. I know, it's sad, but the truth is that, just for now, I've decided to keep a bit more distance between my online presence in video games. If I'm being honest, I'd prefer in general to have no online presence at all, considering I can barely look at a YouTube comment section anymore. So for now, I don't want to drag my biggest passion down with me. Hopefully you can understand. And with that depressing thought out of the way, here's the good news. I figured, what better way to send off my Steam Summer Sale adventure videos than by ranking each individual game I talked about in them. So that's what I'm going to do. One important thing to mention though, I haven't beaten all of these games. Far from it, in fact. Some of these I haven't even touched since making each game's respective video, and a couple I have no plans to return to. So I'll just leave a little something right here to provide my status on the game as I talk about them. Just expect most of them to be off of first impression. Now, you ready for some fun? That's right, it's ranking each Steam Summer Sale video game time. Number 34, Super Time Force Ultra. This game just frustrates me the more I think about it. Number 33, Figment. Would be good if games like Bastion didn't exist. Number 32, The Mean Green's Plastic Warfare. Maybe with some friends? One day? Number 31, Trine 4, The Nightmare Prince. Easily the worst Trine game, I don't care what all y'all say. Number 30, Death Road to Canada. It's like what that edgy kid liked to play on Newgrounds. Number 23, Spelunky 2. It's basically just Spelunky 1 again with new stuff. Number 28, DMC Devil May Cry. A classic example of missing the point. Number 27, Okami HD. Honestly, this one will probably move up when I actually have time to play it. Number 26, Lethal League Blaze. I mean, it's fun in short bursts. Get it? Number 25, Streets of Fury EX. Worth playing once for the memes. Number 24, Overgrowth. Deadass! Number 23, Joe Danger. It's as nostalgic as watching Ed, Edd and Eddy as an adult. Number 22, Joe Danger 2, the movie. When they improve on the original in every way. Number 21, Drawn to Life 2 Realms. Still not a bad game. Number 20, Beyond Good and Evil. Wait, did I have more fun with this Zelda clone than Okami? Number 19, Dying Light. A lot of fun, I just don't have time for it. Number 18, Trine 3, The Artifacts of Power. What am I missing? Why don't people like this game? Number 17, Swords and Soldiers HD. A good casual strategy game. Something that's surprisingly rare. Number 16, Swords and Soldiers 2 Schwarmageddon. Yeah, it's above the first game now. It's called Revisiting. Number 15, Receiver. By no means should I enjoy this game, but I do. I really, really do. Number 14, Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. You're running down a building, then you slice a giant robot in half. Number 13, Rivals of Aether. I might be an Olympia main now. Number 12, Trine. Man, I wish I had someone to play this with. Number 11, Bastion. You'd better remember this game by now. Number 10, Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom. This game had me at Your journey began, it's time to go. Number 9, Hades. Probably one of the best roguelikes I've ever played, but still a roguelike. Number 8, Supraland. One day, I want to see everything this game has to offer. One day. Number 7, Trine 2. After loving Trine 1, you know I gotta beat these games. Number 6, Dead Rising 2. Probably some of the most fun you'll have killing zombies, and any gamer knows that's a bold statement. Number 5, Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch Remastered. I really wish RPGs weren't such a time commitment. Number 4, Resident Evil 4. Not exactly my style of Resident Evil, but it is Resident Evil, so... Number 3, My Friend Pedro. I feel I'm easy to impress when it comes to games that make you feel cool. Therefore, My Friend Pedro is number 3. Number 2, Scribblenauts Unlimited. The world is your oyster, so I'ma let it fucking burn! Number 1, The Pedestrian. The visuals that look amazing, the soundtrack which I'm listening to now, the ending which is one of the best in gaming, even the developers responding to an email I sent saying there was no music only for them to respond moments later, it's like that for effect. It all comes together to make one of the best puzzle games I've ever played, and that is why it is the winner for the best Steam Summer Sale Adventure video game. And with that, the Steam Summer Sale Adventure journey has concluded. Maybe in the future I'll consider doing more of these, but I've got a lot of personal plans outside of YouTube that I'm working on in my own life, so for now, this will be the last Steam Summer Sale video. I honestly have a lot of fun making these, but for now, it's time to move on. Plus, I kind of want to keep my gaming life separate from my online presence. Something like that. I hope you can understand. And thank you for watching these videos. If you made it this far, you probably know me personally, but regardless, it means a lot that you made it this far. Very few people do, so you can consider yourself to be part of that watch the whole video club. thing if you want it to be. I won't stop you. Anyways, if you like this video and you want to say you did just cuz, like this video, maybe subscribe. This is the unscripted part, but I don't even know what to say here. So, basically there's a lot I have going on in my life, really. There's a lot of stuff like I'm figuring out. Maybe I'll talk about it some other time. But, it's all good stuff, but the point is none of it involves YouTube. Contrary to popular belief, these videos take, like, a long time to make. So, like, a surprisingly long time to make, even, like, basic ones. So, like, all those, like, guys you see, like, with, like, tons of YouTube videos, they put a ton of time into their channel. Like, a ton. And I don't have that time, so... And on top of that, it's just, like... I want to play games for what they are. And not like, oh, you can do this in this game because someone said you could. Or... Like, I want to just enjoy games for what they are, not what... You know... Like, I don't know, it's weird with me. I'm not really much of a like, for me, gaming is less that guy I met on Discord, or that more like that guy I met at work, you know? It's like just not as much fun for me when I can't see their face, and that's a big part of why I just want to keep distance. But it's just... But yeah, I guess one more time, really, thanks for watching these videos, because, you know, it just means I'm doing something, right? You know, everyone, like, again, not a lot of people watch my videos, not a lot of people finish my videos, at all, and, you know... There's that one guy who leaves dislikes on my videos. But, you know, thank you for, you know, the support. The little that I had with this channel, but, you know. I'll probably make a video going into more depth, and it's probably already out now, but, yeah. Do this one last time. How about that? Anyways, I'm just gonna ask the question. The question that I ask into everyone in my videos, but no one knows the answer to, not even me, in that question is, are you sure you want to quit?